Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another one of my FutureFight Vanguard series. So it is currently like almost 6 a.m., which I've been up all night doing videos. So I figured I'd crank out one more before I at least take a nap or get some sleep or something, so that I can wake up and continue doing the rest of BT12. But this video is going to be the Claret Sword G-BT12 video. So with that being said, let's get right into that. We're gonna load up the deck here. Also, if you guys didn't check out my last video, it was about a cash tournament that we're doing in Georgia. So yeah, go check that out if that's something you'd be interested in. Definitely be interested in you guys coming out and having some fun, fighting each other to the death, and yeah, getting some money out of it if you're into that as well. So yeah, be sure to check that out. But yeah, starting off with our grade 3s, we are going to get right into it. We have the new Claret Sword Dragon here, Claret Sword Dragon Revolt. It has two abilities. Its first ability is on the Vanguard circle. When your G unit strides, you can counter boss 1. If you do, you reveal the top cards of your deck until you reveal 2 grade 1 cards. Then you put one of the grade 1s on your rearguard circle. Then you put one of the grade 1s into your hand, and then you put the rest into your deck and shuffle them. So technically, when you're revealing from the top of your deck, the cards are considered inside of your deck. So if you're playing this in real life and you're revealing them on the mat, you can do that, but just make sure that, like, if there's anything that kind of triggers from them being in your deck or whatever, like for example, Morian Spear is like a grade 1 in the deck, so when this card gets revealed by Revolt skill, you can activate it. However, Morfessa is a grade 1 in the drop zone, so you would not be able to activate it if you ran Morfessa in this deck, if that makes sense. So yeah, counter boss 1, when you reveal 2 grade 1s, call 1, put 1 to hand. This works out pretty great because a lot of times you will get like a Stride Fodder or a blue Espada dragon, which is also Stride Fighter basically in this deck. So you'll get to those really good cards, and cards that you want to call, cards that you want to have in your hand. So it's a good deal either way, in my opinion. Get 2 cards on your board to retire using your skills, and yeah, it's just very good because of that. The Generation Break 2 ability is when this unit is attacked, choose one of your grade 1 rear guards and you can move it to the guard circle. If you do and you don't have any more rear guards on the field, this unit gets plus 2,000 power. So I like and dislike this Generation Break 2. So the Generation Break 2 forces you to intercept with everything. Basically intercept with everything before you can get 2k for the rest of the turn. I would prefer just be like move 1 and then get 2k for the rest of the turn. And be like a once per turn thing, because then it wouldn't punish you for like, so for example, things like blue Espada dragon, like you want to have on the field beforehand. You don't want to have to get rid of like your all of your grade 1s that are on the board, like your Dark Quartz dragons, like etc. So you don't really want to intercept till you have nothing left. Like that just seems kind of like punishing. So it does allow you to intercept with your grade 1, so I guess that's good. But I wouldn't do it until I have no rear guards unless my opponent's already playing control. So at that point, it's like your opponent's going to blow it anyways if they haven't. Just blow it yourself so that they don't do it. As our backup grade 3, we're running 3 of the old Claret Sword Dragon, Sovereign Dragon, Claret Sword Dragon. This unit has 2 abilities as well. A Vanguard Act skill, that's Generation Break 2. This says choose 2 of your rear guards and retire it. This unit gets plus 10,000 in a critical. So basically on the turns where you can't stride and you're on this card, you can just choose to retire 2 rear guards and it'll get plus 10k in a crit, which is not bad, but it's still pretty bad. Like 21 with Twin Drive is like nothing nowadays, so I wouldn't do it unless you're late in the game, your opponent only has like 2 or 3 cards in their hand or something. Then it can make an impact. Its on stride skill is during your turn, when your G unit strides, you can counter boss 1, and if you do, you search your deck for up to 1 grade 1 or less card, call it to rearguard circle, and that unit gets plus 2,000 power. So Instead of doing what Revolt does and reveals until you get 2 grade 1s, it just calls out any grade 1. But also Revolt gets you more advantage off of its stride skill because it gets you that extra card to the hand, and then you get a call as well. So yeah, it ends up being better in the long run. Then we have 4 Morian Spear Dragon. Morian Spear Dragon has 2 abilities. Its first ability is Generation Break 1. In the deck, it is considered a grade 1 card if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Claret Sword in its name. So it's pretty good because you're able to just call it off of the grade 1 skill, or call it off of like the Revolt. So it just counts as a grade 1, so it's great that it counts as a grade 1 because you're able to call it off like that. You're also able to call it off using like Helheim and stuff like that, so it's pretty good. Also, when this unit is boosted by a grade 1 unit and attacks the Vanguard, this unit gets plus 5,000 power, so it's kind of like a Morfessa in its own right. Like, it makes 21k column when it's boosted by 7k and attacks Vanguard, so it's very, very good. It's a good beater. You can search it out pretty easily, make fields, make columns, like, it's a pretty great card. Then we have 4 Dark Pride Dragon. This is one of the old Claret Sword support cards. That says when this unit is put into the drop zone from rearguard for the cost of your unit's ability, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Claret Sword in its name, search your deck for up to 1 Dark Quartz Dragon, call it to rearguard circle, shuffle your deck, and if you called a card, then you countercharge 1. So basically this card gets you into the grade 1 Dark Quartz Dragon when you retire it, which is not bad at all. Like, you play it, you get your use out of it in the early game by rushing, and then when you get to GB, you just sack it for some ability and then get the skill. So it's a pretty solid card. Then we have 4 Greymew. What Greymew does is it's also one of the old Claret Sword support cards. We do run 4 of these as well, so we run 12 grade 2s so that we can keep our attack game strong because we need it in this deck. This deck doesn't have that long of a lifespan. Either because we will deck out or because we won't have the advantage we need to survive against our opponent. So you guys will see that when we're playing the games, but you do want to finish the games kind of early-ish in this deck. So Greymew's skill is when this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Claret Sword in its name, you can counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 grade 1 or less card, call it to rearguard circle, shuffle your deck, and this unit gets plus 2,000 power. So calls a grade 1 out of your deck, it gets plus 2,000 power, becomes 11k, can swing at Vanguards easily by itself, and just an overall good card to fix your board if you need to call like Dark Quartz Dragon, or you need to call Swordbreaker to get extra card, or you need to call Blue Espada Dragon. So your whole grade 1 toolbox is open to this, so that's great. Then we have 3 Knight of Yearning Branwen. So what Branwen does is it's literally just a stride fodder usually in most Shadow Paladin decks, but in this deck it actually has like its actual first ability is useful. So it allows you to reveal a grade 3 card and search any Claret Sword, and then discard a card from your hand. So basically if you have this Claret Sword in your hand and Branwen in your hand, you can play Branwen to the rearguard circle, reveal this Claret Sword, get Revolt because it's much better, and then you can discard Claret Sword or anything else in your hand. So pretty good. Then we have 4 Karma Collector. It is our unflip PG of the deck. Not much to be said about that. We like our counterblast and we like to be safe, so run 4 PGs, and then we like to unflip our damage, so we run the unflip PGs. Moving on to Blue Espada Dragon. This is another one of our new cards from this set. It has a rearguard ability that says when you are paying the cost for stride, if you have a Vanguard with Claret Sword Dragon in its name, you can counterblast 1, choose one of your Blue Espada Dragons on rearguard, and retire it as the cost. So basically, if you have this on the board, you can counterblast 1, retire this, and then you can stride for free, technically. Quote unquote free. So basically, if your opponent's not playing control, they allow this to stay on the board. You don't have a grade 3 in your hand, no worries, you can stride. Then we have 2 Blackwing Swordbreakers. Blackwing Swordbreaker is pretty simple when it's called out from the deck. Soul Blast 1, draw a card, so you can call these out pretty frequently to get some little advantage off of it here and there. Not much to say about it other than that. Then we have 2 Dark Quartz Dragon. Dark Quartz Dragon when this unit is placed on the rearguard circle if you're Generation Break 1 and if you have a grade 3 or greater with Claret in its name, which you should always have. Choose one of your Vanguards and that unit and this unit get 3000 power. So this unit becomes a 10k by itself and your Vanguard will get whatever your Vanguard is plus 3k. So it can be a good beater at times. Like if you need a 10k attacker, like you can literally just play Dark Quartz Dragon and it's a 10k attacker that you need. So very good card. Then for our starter, we run a Pedigree Knight Tigris. So what Tigris does is it has 2 abilities. First one is Forerunner, which means that it may move back onto a different rearguard circle when ridden upon, like most starters in the game have. The second ability is an activation skill that says Counterboss 1, retire this unit, and look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal 1 card with Claret Sword Dragon in its name, and then put it into your hand, shuffle your deck, and then if you have a Claret Sword Dragon Vanguard currently, then you can draw a card. So what this allows you to do is get some stride fodder. Like actually this starters like these make it ideal to go first almost, because you can just wait around. So basically what I mean is, like, here's the options. You go first, and then you get to grade 3 before your opponent. You use this skill, you get a Claret Sword that you're gonna stride with next turn, and then on top of that you draw a card. But if you happen to ride Claret Sword and you go second, you can still use this ability, but you just have to have a card to stride with already in hand to make it like really good of a play. Also, you can use this card before you get to grade 3 in case you don't have any Claret Swords in your hand, and checking top 7 is a very decent amount to check for the top, so you should get Claret Sword every time. Then we have 4 Taboo Demonic Cage Kathir. This is our Claret Sword specific crit trigger that shoves itself to the soul, gives 5000 to Vanguard, and draws us a card on attack of our Vanguard. Then we have 4 Vanilla Crits, Gravehorn, Unicorn, 4 Drag Wizard Bobbed. It is a clone of Howl Owl. Basically just a really good draw trigger. It allows us to put it into the soul and give one of our units 3000 power. It can be very helpful at times. Then we have 4 Witch of Heresy Earald. So what Earald does is when this card is discarded from hand to call the bigger Earald, like the G-Guardian version of it, we can discard a grade 1 or less from our hand and draw a card. So helps filter out your hand when you're going into this as your G-Guard, and that's all that needs to be said about that heal trigger. So moving on to the strides, we have 4 Supremacy True Dragon Claret Sword Helheim. So I actually ran 4 in my Luard version of my FutureFight version of Luard as well, that came right before this. This card is just very good in my opinion. Like, it punishes your opponent no matter what, and I went over this in the Luard deck, but it's even better in the Helheim deck because you have Morian Spear. Like, you can call this card off of Helheim, so it's pretty great, like, because you can just do whatever, like, your opponent, no matter how they block you, they will literally do one of these 3 things pretty much 99.9% of the time. Unless they read your effect, then they decide that they don't want you to get it so bad that they want to guard you with like 3 grade 0s or like 4 grade 0s or something. So that hasn't ever happened to me while I've been playing either deck. And when a card, so basically the ability of this card is when a card with the Sentinel ability, a G-Guard, is placed on Guardian Circle, or this card's attack hits, then we can pay the cost to flip a copy of itself. If we do, we search our deck for 1 grade 1 or less, as the same number of cards in our G-Zone face up, and then we call them to separate rearguard and shuffle our deck. So basically it's just very good because you attack with it first. It can be your first stride. You attack with it, your opponent's either A, gonna let it hit, or they're B, gonna block it with a G-Guard or a PG. There's like no one that really does anything else than that, so you will most of the time be able to just get the search, and that will help you for future plays. Then we run 1 GB8, 1 Dark Knight Eargun Welt. Eargun Welt says Generation Break 8, Counterboss 1 during the main phase. Choose up to 5 of your rearguards and retire them. Then search your deck for the same number of grade 1 or less cards as the number of units that were retired. Then call them to separate rearguard circle. They get 15k power. Then you choose up to the same number of your opponent's rearguards as the number of rearguards that were called, and retire them and shuffle your deck. So this card allows you to get a lot of grade 1s out of your deck, like in the final stages of the game. Like, You won't even really make it to GB8 a lot of the time, but in the final stages of the game, you want to get to this, use it, thin out your deck, leave only triggers left for the most part if you can, and then you know that you're going to check like certain triggers against your opponent. And then we have 2 Aura-Geyser Damned. So what Aura-Geyser Damned does, or in English it's Aura-Geyser Doomed. Axe skill, counterblast 1, and flip a regular Aura-Geyser, so that's why we run 4. First we use Aura-Geyser for its own skill, and we use the both Dooms. So what it does is counterblast 1, flip a original Aura-Geyser face up, choose 3 of your rear guards and retire them, then you reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. One of your opponent's rear guards die for every grade 1 or less that you revealed, and then you put the cards that you revealed into your hand, and if you have at least 3 Aura-Geyser face up in your G-Zone, then the Doomed gets a crit. So it is good crit pressure for your opponent. You already do run a good amount of criticals in this deck, so if you were to go into that and your opponent was to no guard, I feel like they would really be in some danger. Moving on, we have 4 Aura-Geyser Dragon, the regular one. The reason why we run 4 of this is 2 to flip with Doomed and 1 to flip for itself before we go into Doomed. So when this card attacks a Vanguard, we can counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and flip a Aura-Geyser from our G-Zone face up, and we choose 2 of our rear guards and retire them, and then we check reveal 2 cards from the top of the deck. For every grade 1 or less, then it gets plus 5,000 power. So kind of good beater, kind of not. Like your opponent will mostly no guard it, but that's good because you're still getting advantage off of it. Then we have 1 Dark Dragon, Carnivore Dragon. One of my favorite cards in Shadow Paladin. I literally can't say it enough. This card's so useful. So what it does is when you take 1 of your rear guards and retire it, and your opponent has to choose 2 of their rear guards and retire them, and then if your opponent did not retire 2 units, choose up to 3 units in your front row, and they get 4,000 power. So basically what you will be able to do is, if your opponent only has 2 valuable rear guards on the field, you can go into Carnivore Dragon and just pop them up. And then if your opponent has 3 valuable rear guards, you can still pop them and tell them that they have to get rid of 2 out of the 3. So makes your opponent replace their board, and that's what makes it really good. Then moving on to our G-Guardians, we have 1 Witch Queen of Iniquity, Irald. So what Irald does is Generation Break 1, flip a G-Guard when it's placed in the guard circle, and then you choose up to 2 of your grade 1 or less rear guards, and you can move them to the guard circle. And if you move them, if you move 2 units, then you draw a card. Then we have 1 Dragweiser Bronarch. The reason that I was using this in here is because sometimes you want to thin the deck even more. So we're thinning the deck by adding the grade 1s to our hand that, or not to our hand, but to the guard zone. So when you guard with Bronarch, you get to look at the top 5 cards of the deck. You reveal all grade 1 cards from among them, put them in the guard circle, and then the rest of them are put on the bottom of your deck. So what that means is that you can get some grade 1s out of your deck early, so that you can have an easier time filtering out your entire deck, so that's only triggers to check. So that's what makes this really good. Then we have 1 Dark Knight Ludwig and 1 Dark Dragon Plotmaker. Ludwig says when it's placed on the guard circle, choose 1 of our grade 1 or less and move it to the guard circle. You don't have to do that, but you can. It is basically like our 31k block. And then Plotmaker, if you're Ritual 3, which means Ritual is a mechanic for Shadow Paladin that has to deal with the number of grade 1s in their drop zone. So if you're Ritual 3, that means you have 3 or more cards in your drop zone that are grade 1. And then if you're Ritual 3, this card will get plus 10,000 shield. So in a Claret Sword deck, you will definitely, you should be like at Ritual 3 at all times. Like it shouldn't really be an issue in the slightest, actually. But yeah, we're opening back up our Cardfight area here so that we can get to the matches part of the video. So we're gonna load Claret Sword 1. So it looks like we're playing against Blue Wave first game, which is pretty interesting. We don't have a grade 1, unfortunately. We do top deck 1, so I was thankful for that. We also do crit our opponent, and he gets rid of a Tidal Assault and a Magnum Assault. So we guard his first Tidal Assault attack. He attacks us with Vanguard. We get a draw trigger, get power, and then we call our grade 2s deciding to rush him. And then as soon as we called the grade 2s, I guess he looked at the top card of his deck and then he just quit. So I'm guessing like I would have just attacked the Dark Pride into his Tidal Assault, which he would have guarded or not guarded, because he could have guarded with this and then guarded my other rear guard into it with this, but then I would have just attacked Vanguard into it, and I don't know what my drive check would have been. But then he has just a handful of 3s, so he just randomly decided to quit, and I guess that was game 1 for the Claret Sword deck, because people don't know how to work themselves out of bad situations. Like, I don't know, personally, I never quit a match on area, even if I know that I'm like about to lose terribly, like unless I'm just ultra frustrated that day. But it literally has to be like over 48 hours of me playing area or something, and I'm just like frustrated with the way that I lost a specific game. But game 2 looks like we're playing against Kagero, some kind of weird Overlord tech build of Kagero. Looks like he's playing the End and Rebirth, as we see in his hand. We do check a PG. He rides into the End, uses the skill of Conroe to search out another the End. Then he attacks with Vanguard, and we guard with A2 to pass. Then we stride with Morian. We look at the top cards, so we get a grade 1. We reveal a Morian and a grade 1. We put the blue Espada Dragon into our hand, and then we attack for 30. He no guards, so we do check a heal trigger, a draw trigger, and that's it for our checks. Then we decide to use Helheim skill to flip, and we attack his rear guard, and then we attack his Vanguard. He did now Griffins it, which is fine. And then he goes into regular Overlord as a stride. He goes into Ziegenberg. He makes Ziegenberg retire my blue Espada Dragon. And then he gets rid of Conroe so that when the Vanguard attacks, he can unfield 2. Then he attacks me for 31, which I have no problem with. He checks 3 cards, and none of them are triggers, so I basically go Worth. And then he counterblocks 1 and discards 2 so they can restand again, and I take it with no problem again. So he wasn't really hurting me by doing that, but we revealed till we get 2 grade 1s. Like I said, Morian Sphere are always a good target to call. We also got a PG to our hand off of it. We use Tigre's skill to look at top 7 for a Claret Sword. Shuffle draw. So we ended up drawing a Swordbreaker. So we attack with 20. The reason why we attack with 20, like the side first, is because we want to, if we hit with Helheim, we want to be able to call more. So we do check vanilla as well. I then use Helheim skill to call 3 grade 1s or less. So we call another Morian Sphere. The rearguard Morian Sphere attacks for 20k, and then he's at 5 damage, and we attack and he PGs. Then he drops 2 cards to stride. He decides to stride into Novel. So I no guard his Novel, hoping that he won't double crit me. He checks a heal and nothing else. So we take his damage, and then since it wasn't a critical, we get to take another damage for free without guarding anything, which is pretty useful. We use blue Espada Dragon to get rid of it to stride for free. Then we play Dark Quartz to give both of our cards +2. And I actually meant to use Carnivore skill here, but I honestly forgot. I think I was tired. But my opponent takes their 5th damage. They go into Defeat Flare for their 2nd G-Guardian, and then they 2 to pass me. Or actually, that's a 1 to pass. So they 1 to pass me, I do the crit all to Vanguard, and that ends up being game 2 for Claret Sword. Pretty quick game. Like, the Overlord player was playing a weird build, in my opinion. Cardfight area did update to BT13 as of last night / this morning. So definitely when I wake up and I get my BT12 videos done, you guys won't have to wait too much longer because all that stuff will be behind it. So yeah, so it looks like match 3 we're playing against Blue Wave again. I don't even remember the guy's name, so I don't think this is the wrong guy or the right guy. But basically, oh yeah, so I recorded this to show you guys like uh, what we go through, like literally just playing on area. So I start the game. I draw my hand. My opponent draws their hand, and then they like fix their deck, like sending cards to the top of their deck, and then they draw out their cards so that they get like the perfect hand or the hand that they want to start with. And I asked him why he fixed his hand, and then he told me to go, and then I said no for him to put his hand back in shuffle, and then he drops the F-bomb and says F you, and then I said I don't play with cheaters, and then he left. So basically people just like to do whatever they want on area, and I try to hold people to the rules because I think that without rules a game is not a game, because if you're not following the rules of the game, like what's the point of playing the game? It's like playing like, I don't know, red light, green light, and every time someone says green light you run towards them, but then when they say red light you're still running towards them, and then you tap them and you say you win, but really in reality you were supposed to stop on red light. Sorry, that was a relevant like reference to those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, but to those of you who know, you played in elementary school or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. But game 4, I recorded game 4 since we had 2 really bad games, and we're playing against Neonectar, so the Neonectar player is rushing me pretty heavily right now. Does check a heal on top of that, so we try to rush a little back. However, he does 10k no pass us for one of the attacks. He also decides to stay on grade 2, and unfortunately we don't run Sabreeze in his deck. I did have to no guard his Vanguard and take some attacks, so what I ended up doing was I ended up attacking for 11 and then 17. He takes 2 damage, and then my last attack was like 21, so he actually G-assists and does not get it. So we were really close to losing, I feel like, but because he had to G-assist and fail, we got an extra turn of attacking into him. He guards with 11 and 17. We do check a critical trigger, give crit power, and that ends up being it for Claret Sword game 4. Yeah, so yeah, but like I said, Claret Sword pretty much just wants to end the game early. Like, there's not much you can do when you're going towards the late game. Like, it's not really a late game deck. It's a early mid game stride tempo deck, so you definitely want to end the game early. But with that being said, that has been the Claret Sword FutureFight. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to subscribe. It really helps a lot. And I appreciate all of you guys that have subscribed thus far. We are almost to 1,000 subscribers, so that's awesome. And then also be sure to like and leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought of the video. Check out our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and through the Patreon you can get to our Discord, trying to grow a very nice community on there. And for those of you already part of that community, thank you guys so much. You guys mean the world to me. And with that being said, that has been the video. This has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys on the next video.